Finally got to my first retro gaming expo, and it was going to happen sooner rather than later. Game On Expo Phoenix came out here this past weekend, and I went with basically one of my good friends and probably my closest friend in terms of like game collecting besides you, that I could say. And we went out, checked out all the booths and all that. Actually brought another guy from work along with us that he's like, I'm just here for the Pokemon. It's like, all right, well, we're gonna give you like a bunch of like info dump on all these old systems and whatnot. It's fantastic. I loved it. We talked to like so many people that, you know, it's great to talk with folks that are in the same like hobby as you, because sometimes, and you probably maybe you run into this at times where it's like, you know, I'll get this way about spring football where like I'll start getting too nerdy into it and like really into like a hyperdrive of sorts, of like wanting to just talk, and then I catch myself, I'm like, I'm sorry if that was too much, you know? Mm-hmm. And so like I get that way with gaming. And so this time it was like you're around everybody who's like that, and it's just very freeing, you know, to be like talking retro games and like the consoles and what they're selling and what they got for it and all that. Like my favorite booth there, and this is where I picked my Saturn one up, all Japanese stuff, no matter what, like nice. Japanese consoles, games, you name it. And if you spent $50 or more, you got to put in and turn the dial for a Japanese coin, like ball machine.
Oh, like a little gotcha
like the
machine?
little figures. Yeah. And they would give you 100 yen token, like an actual like 100 yen coin to put in and turn. And if you won a certain thing, you would get a yellow Game Boy Color. Now, I didn't get that. What I actually got, and I'm calling this show and tell from now on for every episode, I actually got this huge one-up mushroom from the coin machine. So I was carrying this bad boy in my back pocket or in my backpack the entire time. But fantastic. If you are a gamer, you got to go to one of these conventions. You got to go to a convention. They are so much different. Vendors are great to talk to. People are great to talk to. Seeing stuff from other like vendors that aren't like sellers, but just like people in the industry are great. Loved it. And I got some awesome freaking stuff, man, as you saw. I checked off some Holy Grail items on my collection now. It's been wonderful, and restoring one of them too.
Well, I saw, yeah. So you're getting that PS3 back to life. The Sega Saturn, I'm super jealous of. Especially, I've told you the story. We probably never talked about it on the podcast. Mm-hmm. I'm still kicking myself. I was in Salt Lake, Utah, for a month for work.
Yeah,
over 10 years ago at this point, and they had a Sega Saturn with 2 controllers, all the hookups for like $50. But I was in Salt Lake, and I didn't want to cart it back home. What a fool I am, because they're not like, it's not that they're hard to find, but you don't find those in the wild. You don't find them at Goodwills anymore, that's for sure.
No, they're hard.
And the one you got is clean, dude. It's like nice.
Yeah, the box it looks brand spanking new. And I love the Japanese ones. So like to get into the weeds a bit, you know, I made a video on this too as well if you want on my Twitter. The Japanese ones were colored, so they were cool. You know, you had a more grayish brown one that was the first model with blue buttons. You know, they had fun with it. And the second one, and the one I have, which is why I love this one, I had to get it. It was the one I wanted once I started reading into it. It's an all-white console with like pink and like variety buttons on both the front and on the controller. And here's the beauty of it: the Japanese Saturn is like super US friendly. You know, like there's different power conversions in the US and Japan. Like Japan, it's a 100-watt conversion, whereas US it's 120. So like I have a Famicom, and like Famicoms, if you plug them into the outlets in the US, there's a high likelihood they could just blow out because they don't have great resistors to that power. The Japanese ones, while they have saying it's 100 watts, everything I've read, they're basically the exact same thing NTSC wise. So like you can plug it in immediately and it plays on a US power grid without any flaw. And so like I do that. Most of the Japanese games already have English text anyway on it. Like I'm playing Daytona USA just yesterday, which is like freaking love Daytona USA. Yeah. You know, I got Virtual Fighter 2 and Sega Rally Championship. That thing's going to be awesome. Like I love that system, and the Japanese collecting's cheaper than the U.S. games too. So, but double bonus as well, by the way,
by like a huge margin, which is insane.
And the cases are better. They're freaking CD cases. Like they're super convenient compared to the bulky ass Sega CD replacement cases they sold in the U.S. Like they royally screwed this thing up in the U.S. Like the Japanese one's the best one. That's why I also want it's the best cases, the best designs. It was meant to be bought in that style. So I had to have it.
And to my recollection, they're not too hard to mod. I think you can get a little cartridge, like a mod cartridge that just goes into that back slot.
And so that's the only thing I'm missing is I actually got to hit. I followed the guy. I got their business card, by the way. By the way, another thing is great. New vendors getting business cards, meeting guys I haven't seen in the area. I found 2 new stores I hadn't visited, which Arizona has like 22 retro stores. Make that 24. So I have to see those guys now. But yeah, you can just buy. It's an action replay card. Like you buy that, and your Saturn's immediately region free. That's like $35. You just plug it into the back. That's it. No like hard modding or any crap like that. You just pop it in. It's a cart. Like it's a great system. Like you can get any game you want immediately like that.
That is
freaking sweet.
Cool. I love the fact that people are still supporting old hardware. Too. Yeah. We were talking about the Vectrex last week with the Vectrex Mini, and then you can get the controller and it'll plug into the Vectrex. It shouldn't even. But I'm glad that people are, because that came out 40 plus years ago, and we're about to get the easiest way to get replacement controllers. And then now with the Sega Saturn, you could use the Action Replay. There's a million ways to bring life to your old systems. Case in point, I found a Game Boy player, but as you would know, Game Boy player without a disc can't really do much with it. If you don't want to get creative, that is. So apparently you can go and buy, like, it's basically a memory card that will bypass the disc. And there's only a few discs. So if you have like Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time for the GameCube, or there's like a few, you know how they had like the master version or something for that. That works. There's a few different, like, just common games that work too. So if you have that game, that memory card, that disc, then you can use your Game Boy player without a disc. I'm like, okay, that works out. I'm going to go buy that now.
Yeah.
But yeah, retro games, there is something to playing it on the old hardware. I've set up 1 million RetroPies, Zach, and they're cool, but I don't know. I want the crunch of the real controller. Like
exactly
to play emulated games, there's a right way too. Like I almost want an NES controller to play my NES emulated games. I don't want to play that on a 360 controller.
That's the thing too. Like I'm not going to play an Xbox controller to play like any 16-bit console or an 8-bit console. It just feels weird to me.
Yeah.
You know, the D-pad will be off, the buttons will be off. It's, you know, it's the gaming side of it is an experience. Unless you're like one of those guys, and opinion be damn, whatever you want. Unless you're one of those guys that's just out there to collect and sell this stuff to like make a buck, which there are people like that. This is 2026 after all with the resale markets. But like, it's about the experience. You buy this stuff to enjoy what is the old tech. That's what's cool about it, you know, and like appreciate it, preserve it, you name it, you know, like a freaking PlayStation. Like, yeah, I could have left it alone in like a dirty, grody mess of a thing. But like, no, it's going to break eventually if I don't do something. So like, you know, blow it out and clean it. You know, I've never done thermal paste, by the way, Stefan. I don't know if you've done that before with anything. I've never thermal pasted anything in my life. I finally learned how to do that with this system. I had to clean off the old paste with isopropyl alcohol. I had to make sure it lined up. I put a pea size amount so it wasn't too much. That was what they kept saying on the videos. I did that. I can say that I learned how to maintain my old tech, and I can more comfortably do that now. I want to do more stuff with my stuff I own because I want to keep it working, you know?
I'm curious with that PS3 you have, is that an original FAT that is backwards compatible with PS2?
That's why I got it.
Dude, those are fucking sick.
Yeah, and no, I got a great deal for it. So there, I'll go into a little bit on that because I know I love that you brought that up. So first off, $300 for a out of box fat PS3 is a steal. Actually, that's the normal pricing. I got this with the OG box and inserts and the game, which was MotorStorm, which that's the sad part, by the way. My copy MotorStorm I got with it, it's scratched up to where it's not working. I have to get it resurfaced. But it freaked me out because the first game I put in after I reassembled it, I thought I screwed up the reassembly and had to go and do it again. Turns out I didn't. I played Call of Duty World at War immediately after that and like got lost in playing Nazi zombies. That beside the point. First off, was a great deal. Part of it was probably because it was dirty as hell and hadn't been played in years. Second off, though, the backwards compatible ones. So there's 3 models that do, apparently. They're all like serial number CACH to start. CACH is A, B, and E. And even those are different in themselves. I love this stuff about the retro gaming and reading up on hardware. So the A and B models, they were ones that were built with basically an entire PS2 inside a PlayStation 3 case. The original chips and everything in it. Mine that I got was the revision. It was Sony's attempt to try and like course correct to where they can make it cheaper, but also keep the original vision alive of the backwards compatibility. And it was one that came to Europe as well, which is the E model, which, if honestly, based on the marking, it means emulation. So the E model is a partial emulated console. It plays 91% of the PS2 games in the library, which is like over 2,000, I think. And it has issues with some. It doesn't play as well as the A model, but it has emulation and it has a smoothing filter to make the games look even better on the system. So it's actually the preferred by some people because it makes the PS2 games look even better on HD than it does the original. So
I learned a trick that we have to talk about here, Zach. So I've learned that if you're taking like a retro console that's HDMI out, like a PS3 or an Xbox 360, you should set the resolution to 720.
Really?
On the console. Because what happens is the upscaling from the console is worse than the upscaling from the TV. And in fact, what happens is you get double upscaling.
Okay.
And so your console's upscaling from 720 to 1080, and then your TV is upscaling from 1080 to 4K. So if you just set it to 720, and so I wish I could give them credit.
I'm gonna have to give that a shot.
I watched a YouTube video.
I got
it is almost night and day. You're like, wow, the TV really did the upscaling like pretty crisp, and it's not going to be like a modern game, but it's pretty close.
Yeah, I'll have to take a look at that because I mean, I'm up for it, you know, and mine probably does that a little bit too, you know. But a lot of those games were designed for 720 primarily, so that does make a lot of sense technically, or like in the technical sense. So I'll have to give that a shot. Good tip.
You lose a lot of like the fuzziness around the edges when you do that. It's
like
this,
unless it's like true upscaling, you're really just stretching the image out. So like you are losing some pixel clarity with that. So it makes sense. I like the thought behind it, you know. But yeah, I mean, I'll add that to my tests. I've been glad I've been testing out. That thing works great now. But yeah, actually one of the videos, and you might cringe at this. I don't know how you are with like hardware mods. I'm very like, unless I really need to do it, I'm very like, keep the original hardware, don't rip it out and put something in or whatnot. And so one of the guys I watched, his name's Mystic. Great videos, by the way, on these consoles and like the what works and what doesn't work on the backwards compatible. He made the ultimate PS2, or PS3, which was, all right, I'm going to redo the thermal paste, clean it out, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to add a new fan with a fan dial to adjust how the fan speed is in it. So you can make it faster or slower to cool it down as you need, like manually on the back. And then he did one thing that I had to like look away to improve the air cooling on it. He grabbed a piece of paper with a circle and dots, put it on the back, traced out the outline, and he drilled holes in the case. And I sat there in horror as I watched this man take an original PS3 and drill holes into the case, which unless you stand on the side, I guess you don't see it. But in my head, I'm like, you just broke that up. I feel hurt as a guy that like likes preserving the original stuff, seeing that happen.
So this is not the same at all by any means, but it's a story that popped into my head and I have to bring it up now. So it's funny enough, it was either a PS3 or a PS4. I want to say it was a PS3, but for some reason I want to say it's PS4. Nonetheless, it was a video game console. Okay. I walk into my buddy's house. This is maybe like 5-6 years ago at this point. He lives in Michigan. I live in Texas. I was visiting up there for a buddy's wedding of mine. And I noticed he has his TV mounted on the wall, and he had a video game case, like a DVD case, drilled into the bottom of his TV with a piece of wood, then drilled into the bottom of that was then acting as a stand for his PS3 behind his TV. Oh. And I was like, there's probably a million ways you could have done that that were better. Because I'm just thinking, like, how did you not blow up your TV? I don't know. Call me crazy. I come from the old school. Like, you didn't want to be opening up a CRT. Like, you could legit blow your ass up by touching a CRT. And so I know the flat screens are a little bit different, but I still wouldn't feel comfortable drilling into an electronic and then hoping you plug it in and it just works fine.
I don't think anyone would feel that's worth seeing Jesus by touching a tube in a TV.
No. Tube TVs are scary,
or Satan. I mean, hey, some people are evil. We don't discriminate that way.